What's going on YouTube? It's the God Achilles here. I'm bringing you guys a brand new video here today, and today, like I promised, I am giving you my overpowered flak build that I promised when I dropped the first video that I made about the early Iridium / Legendary farm. So we're gonna go ahead and get into the gameplay here, and spoiler alert, if you guys have not completed this game, I am going to be showing you a kill to demo the build on the final boss of the game. So if you haven't played, if you don't want to be spoiled, you don't want to see what it is, I suggest click it. I suggest either coming back to this video after you have beaten the final boss, because it is a major spoiler. But first off, we're going to come over here and we're going to buy some, we're going to refill our ammo here. And we're going to get into the build first. Well, we're going to get into the weapons. Now, I don't have every weapon that I want, but the main weapon that I'm going to be using is already in my inventory. I just need a better leveled version of it. It's 46 right now. I need it to be 50. So we're going to be using the Fl4ker. Now, if you don't know what the Fl4ker is a Torg shotgun that consumes 5 ammo per shot. And those 5 ammo, you shoot it, it goes a set distance, and then all of them explode. It's a random pattern. They all just explode, dealing a crap ton of damage. And I'm going to show you here in a minute on the final boss that this gun wrecks. Now, for this build specifically, the biggest part of having this build is this gun. Hands down, you need this gun. This build would work with other guns, but this one just takes the cake. Like, I tried this with the conference call that's in the game. It didn't do what I wanted it to. I tried this with the double penetrating boring gun. This thing actually does more damage on paper. But the thing about it is when you shoot it, the projectiles, they shoot out and then they roll across the ground. So you have a potential to miss damage. So, yes, it has a slow fire rate. It says it has 17 rounds in a magazine, which means you are going to get a total of 4 shots in this thing. And they're all going to explode 5 times. Now, I will show you in this build later on, like a little bit later in the video, I'm going to show you can actually get a chance for extra projectiles, and so you can shoot up to 6 projectiles without actually shooting your gun an extra time, which is super useful. You get it's essentially going to up your damage by a lot. But the other gun we're going to be using mainly is, I don't have it yet, but in its place I'm using a Disciplined Warlord just for a good normal bullet, high fire rate AR. Because Flak does crazy critical rate, so if you're in a pinch, you need to get up from fight for your life. This is a very good go-to weapon. I wouldn't say if the enemies are like within distance, you could use your Fl4ker, but mainly you want to be using your Fl4ker for damage on the boss, because the damage on the boss that it does is crazy. Now, the gun that I do want here is called the Shred-a-Fire, and I want it just normal bullet, but if I can't have it in normal bullet, I'm going to want it in either radiation or fire. Because I already have a decent shock weapon. So I want one that either does fire damage for stuff that's, because most of the enemies in this game can be lit on fire. The only thing that I don't think you can light on fire right now is the robots. They're resistant to it. So, and the things that obviously do fire damage in the game. But you swap this if you already have a level 50 Shred-a-Fire and you already have a level 50 Fl4ker, you're already on your way to making this build super good. Class mod. I will discuss this kind of with the build, but we're going right now. I just got this not too long ago. It's called the Gouging Shareware Deadeye. And as you can see, my class mod is giving me 31% extra shotgun damage, which and I had another class mod that actually gave me more into. You can see that red skill that red perk in the skill tree. I actually had one that gave me one more in that for more projectiles, but I swapped it out for the sheer fact that 31% extra shotgun damage is just huge. So your 25% like chance to shoot an extra projectile, or I think it's like 50% chance, but 31% extra shotgun damage I just couldn't pass up. For only missing one extra point in there, I think it's worth it. Other than that, the other stuff that I'm using here, my artifact is giving me 15% shotgun damage. And, you know, I'm just kind of, I have a high capacity shield because you're going to be in the boss's face a lot. And so that means you're going to take damage. So having a shield that gives you like boosters for 15% shield are good if you can pick them up. Now this does minus my HP by 10%, but it increases the capacity of my shield by 40%, more than enough for a trade-off. Especially when you see what I'm rocking in this build, you can always be regenning health. And you're just like, mow down enemies. So now we're going to get into the actual skill tree. And we're going to get into the blue skill tree first. For the sheer fact that this is the shortest skill tree. So in here, the only 3 points we're going to put in here. Now I've seen a lot of people make flak builds on YouTube. But I've never seen any of them use Persistent Hunter. Or Persistence Hunter, I'm sorry. I think this perk is almost a must-have. Because it's going to increase your gun damage by 12%, and it's going to increase your action skill duration by 45%. I'm going to show you why that's important because we're going to head to the green skill tree. Now, we only have 3 points in here, I'm sorry, because of our class mod is giving us those. No other reason. You don't actually spec into this. I get 3 from my class mod. So only 3 into Persistence Hunter, and that's it. So then we're going to head over to the green skill tree. Now, you're going to take a lot of things from this build, and I'm going to tell you things that you can swap out if you want them. It's only if you want them. Some give you more survivability, and it's only like 1 or 2 points difference, but sometimes those 1 or 2 points, that little extra damage is the difference between either you killing the boss and surviving or you dying because you don't have enough damage. But you're going to take Fade Away. Now what Fade Away does is Fade Away is going to make Flak turn invisible for what it says is 15 seconds. And you're going to, most of the time you'd only be able to shoot 3 times and then you would come out of Fade Away. But what we're going to do, because you get a lot more utility with this, is in these skills. I'm going to get into the augments of these before I go into the actual skills. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So we're going to go over here to manage those. So you're going to have you're going to have Fade Away. And then in my it doesn't really matter if you're playing on Xbox which skills, like which slots these are in. It doesn't matter. So we're going to first one we're going to get is Gorillas in the Mist. Now this halves the time that you can be in your Fade Away, but you no longer come out of Fade Away after 3 shots. You shoot until you should literally you just keep critting until the duration is over. Now, mind you, Persistence Hunter gives us a 45% increase to this. So you're not only going to be in there for 8 seconds, you're going to be in there for more like 12 seconds, which is a huge damage spike. Because now instead of being in there 8 seconds normally, now you're in there 12 seconds. You're almost in there the full duration without having Gorillas in the Mist. So if you take Gorillas in the Mist completely out of this and you come up here, look at the skill duration. It's 15 seconds. The only thing you're missing out on is the Fade Away critical damage, which is 200%, which is god tier. But you make up for that in the amount of shots that you end up pumping out more damage with Gorillas in the Mist because you're able to stay in it longer and you're able to just hit the boss consistently with crits anywhere on their body. Anywhere. Now also, what this does is while you're cloaked, you have increased movement speed and health regen. So you get increased health regen. You can still be the enemies will still fire in your general direction where they saw you last. So you're not completely invisible and the enemy stops shooting at you. So you do have to be wary of that. But now so while we're at it, we're gonna go ahead and get the pet. The pet you're going to be used is the jabber, and you're gonna be using the gunslinger jabber. Simply because simply for the critical damage and movement speed. The critical damage is the main one. 5% extra damage for just having a pet equipped is super useful. Not to mention, this one is the best out of the two that you can go to, because this one up here makes him do melee damage and gives you max health and movement speed. Well, you don't want that. This is kind of necessary. You could call it a glass cannon. Like, this build does a lot of damage very, very quickly. So we're gonna go to the gunslinger jabber. Not only does it get an SMG, so it can shoot more or less. It does more DPS, and when you use your kill command, it gets a rocket launcher, so it doesn't have to run up to the boss like an idiot and just like smack it with a stick. So now that we've got the pets out of the way, we've got the loadout out of the way. Now we're gonna get into the actual perks of this skill tree. So we're going to be using Furious Attack, which is a hunter skill. After shooting an enemy, Flak gains a stack of Furious Attack. For each stack, Flak's handling and gun damage are increased. So at max stacks, you will get 20% gun damage and roughly like 45% handling for 4 seconds. Now this Furious Attack will you'll keep the perks up as long as you're shooting. And when you're in most of these boss fights, you're going to be shooting a lot because your gun is just, you'll see. So the other one, we're going to go 4 into Eager to Impress. The only reason we have 4 in here is because we need to be able to get down to these skill trees, and putting 3 here and 5, or putting like 3 here and 2 here doesn't get you here, so you have to come up here and put 4 in here. So we're gonna put 4 in here. The only reason I say we don't max this out because the cooldown time that you get for killing an enemy isn't enough to get the 1.25 seconds. It's not worth it. Especially when you see the other skills, you get chances to hit, reduce your cooldown anyway by just hitting crits. So when you come out of it, you should have your fade away back up in like 10 seconds as long as you're shooting something in its crit spot. So then we're going to come over here and we're going to get overclocked. This is just increasing his fire rate by 10%, and he gets an extra 10% after reloading. So an increase of 20% after reloading for 4 seconds. So that's pretty big. You want to be pumping out as much shotgun bullets as you can into this boss because of the amount of damage you want to do. This right here is your survivability. While moving, Flat constantly regenerates health and gains damage reduction. While still, Flat gains gun damage and fire rate. Now, what you want to do is in the main phase of the boss where it's like doing attacks and, well, depending on if the boss that you're farming actually has damage phases and attack phases. So in the damage phases, you're always going to want to be moving around because obviously you don't want to sit still and just eat all the damage to face. So you're always going to be regenning health. It's not exactly fast, but it's not slow either. You do get a decent amount back. So as long as you don't get hit while you're sprinting around for a little bit, you'll regen a decent amount of health. Now, your gun damage while you are standing still is increased by 25%, along with your fire rate being increased by 12%. So what this means, attack phase, you're running around, you're regenning health, you're just kind of popping shots at the boss whenever you can. You always want to be regenning health. Damage phase, you are a statue. You stand still because you want to get that 25% extra damage. And you'll know when your fire rate increases, when you hear your fire rate increase, you know you've got the damage too, so just keep pumping shots. Now, you could put a point into lick the wounds if you play by yourself a lot. If you're more of a solo player, lick the wounds is a clutch thing to have. I used lick the wounds the whole way through story, and it saved my ass I don't know how many times in boss fights. It is good until your pet dies, and then it's on cooldown for a minute. And if you die and there's nothing to kill, you're kind of screwed. But if I highly suggest you don't have to come out of this. You can take a point out of something else in this build and put it into Lick the Wounds if you feel your playstyle that it is a must. I don't necessarily think it's a must. I'm pretty decent on killing enemies while I'm in fight for your life, so I usually get up relatively easy. But if you're either you're new to the game, you're not exactly as good, or you just want to have the extra cushion of not having to worry about dying when the boss is at like minuscule health, it is nice to have. But then we're going to put 3 points, I almost said perks, 3 points into the perk, the Fast and the Furious. While you're above half health, Flak's gun damage and movement speed are increased. The gun damage is 33% and the movement speed is 13.3%. This is insane. It's not 33%. I'm sorry. It's actually 25%. My class mod is giving me +1 to this, so my gun damage is increased by 33%, and the movement speed is 13.3. I think movement speed without the class mod is it's between like 10 and 12, or 10 and 11. I'm sorry. And then that's it. That's all we're going to be using in this skill tree. This skill tree is where a majority of your perks are going to be going. And I will explain why. So, for your first skill tree, you're going to want Interplanetary Stalker. This is just extra damage for anything that you're killing. You kill something, it has your bonus effects there. So, not only do you get 10%, not only do you get a 10% per stack, you get a bonus for killing robots, humans, and beasts. Now, most of the time, you're going to be killing humans in this game, but there are a few robot areas and a few beast areas, so be wary of what your perk is going to be giving you per stack. If you're killing beasts, you're going to be getting movement speed and not your 15% action skill damage. Remember that. It'll take you a minute to realize all this, but once you have this build down, you'll know what you're killing, you know what stacks you're going to be getting, you know how to maximize it. We're going to go in 2 points into Second Intention just so we get enough to get down here to this skill tree. So we're only going to put 2 points in here. This increases your reload speed by 6%, your critical kill reload speed by 11%, and your critical kill reload duration for 5 seconds. Now this is just basically whenever you get a kill, you're going to increase your reload speed. If it's a critical kill, you're going to essentially double your reload speed. Now head count. This is where the build starts to get synergized. Whenever Fl4k scores a critical hit, there is a chance their action skill cooldown is reduced. Now the only thing that would make my class mod better is if I had like 1 to 2 extra perks into this skill tree. Now I haven't found a class mod yet that gives me exactly what I want, but you know, you can't have your cake and eat it too. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you use. But 3 out of 3 into this, roughly every 3 shots, you're going to be reducing your cooldown time by 2 seconds. So then we're going to go into Two Fang. Two Fang is probably, in my opinion, one of the best perks in the game. If it's not the best perk, it's top tier. This, legitimately, all this perk does is you have a chance to fire an extra projectile out of your gun. So, if your gun shoots one bullet, you've got, right now, it's a 25% chance at 5 out of 5. It's a 30, because I have 6. So, I have a 30% chance if I shoot one bullet to shoot 2. So it's just gonna ramp your damage. Now, after you go into that, you're gonna go into 3 points into big game. Flak's hunter skills become much more effective and have a longer duration. This is a must, because it's going to double your hunter skill duration, and it's going to increase the skill effects by 30%, which is huge. Now, I think the biggest portion of this is doubling your hunter skill. I'm sorry, not kill skill. Your hunter skill duration. It's going to double it, and I'm going to show you why that's good with this next perk. So this perk is, I almost say it's a must too, because you're always killing badasses in this game, and this perk rewards you for doing that. So this is a hunter kill skill. Whenever Fl4k kills a badass or a stronger enemy, so a badass, a super badass, an ultimate badass, a boss, anything like that, he is going to gain increased critical hit damage, gun damage, and handling for 2 minutes at 2 out of 3. If you wanted to max this out and you wanted to take 1 point out of the Persistence Hunter, you would get 25% gun damage, 10% critical hit damage, 33% handling, but the duration remains the same. So we put 2 points in here just to get decent damage out of it. If you were only going to put 1 in here, I wouldn't even suggest going into the perk at all, because it doesn't give you that much. So going into is a must. Now what this is going to do, this is going to synergize with big games. So whenever you kill a badass, it's going to double the duration. So you're going to be in there for 240 seconds. That is, let's see, 60, 120, 180, 240. For 4 minutes, you are going to have 17% gun damage, 6.7% critical hit damage. You're going to have 25% increased handling, and it's going to last for 4 minutes. And this resets every time you get a kill on a badass. In some boss fights, they like to spawn badasses a lot. So you can keep this perk up quite a lot. Next skill tree next thing we're going to get is Galactic Shadow. This is just increasing your critical hit damage by 15%, a flat damage increase. The reason you're doing all this, getting everything for crit damage, like you might be asking me, why are we doing all this for crit damage? I don't know if I explained it earlier, but this perk right up here, Fade Away, causes every single shot for those 8 seconds that were in there to be critical hits. So anything you shoot out of your gun is going to be a guaranteed critical hit on no matter where you're hitting the enemy. So all your critical hit damage is going to be insane. Now it's going to be reduced because we're using Gorillas in the Mist. We're not going to get 200%. We're going to get 50% increase instead of 200. But the pros outweigh the cons so heavily. Then we're going to get this. We're going to go 4 out of 5 into this skill perk. This is just giving you increased gun damage and action skill damage. This almost by itself makes up for you. Let's see, you get 12% increased gun damage and 20% action skill damage. So a 32% increase in your damage on top of the 50% that you would get. You're almost at 100%. So you're really only getting about half of what you should be getting, but you get more shots. So in 2 shots, let's say you hit all 3 shots, you can more than make up for that by shooting 4 or 5 times in the mist, and you've made up all your damage, and then everything you get after that is just extra damage. So we don't put a point in here because we don't have enough. But this one, if you wanted to... Now, this is where this build is flexible. If you want Megavore, you can have it. But the perks that I would suggest taking them out of, you're going to be taking them out of this. Unfortunately, This is going to reduce your action skill duration. So now you have to make the decision. Do you want a 20% flat increase to maybe get a critical hit when you're not shooting at a crit spot? Or do you want to have your gun damage and action skill duration increased by a lot? It's up to you. If you want to go the route with Megavore, so we take all 3 points out of here, you would want to put 1 into Megavore, another point into this one, and then I would say probably go your 3rd point into the most dangerous game. That's where I would redistribute my 3 points if I was not going to use Persistence Hunter. But I have found that Persistence Hunter, especially when you have to go in a room and clear trash mobs, to be super useful. You're critting everything just evaporates, and I find it to be more useful than having a little bit of extra damage, because I get to be in there for 12 seconds while you're only in there for 8. So they end up probably balancing each other out, but the utility in being able to be in the mist more appeals to me more. The other one, where you shoot for 8 seconds, might appeal to you more, and you could go right ahead and do that, and the build would run just the same. Now that is the entire build, guys. Most Flak builds run roughly about the same. Unfortunately, I was wanting Flak to be a sniper. The only other gun that I would want in this setup, so I'd want you'd want your Shred of Fire, you need your Fl4ker. I would probably keep right here an elemental damage, like something for shields, or if you're going to be farming a boss that's metal, putting a corrosive thing in there. But the other one that I would suggest using, because it just clears mobs so quick, in this slot I would put the Lyuda. The Lyuda is almost going to be a staple in this build for me personally. You might have another gun that you like, but the Lyuda being in the game and doing as much damage as it does, I think it almost deserves a spot in this because of its critical hit damage. You know, having a 50, it's not as crazy as Borderlands 2 with 150%. It's only about 40 to 50%. But still, having those shooting one bullet and getting 3 out of it is something that it's triple damage. So essentially, you're getting your 150% extra. But that's enough of me talking about the build. I'll go back over here and I'll give you a quick. Give you guys a little time. Not like a lot, but I'm gonna give you time. Like if you need to pause the video, you can pause it and look at the build. But this is my variant on the Flak build, and I've been running it. It's been tearing through. If you guys know what Mayhem mode is, if you don't, I'm not gonna say anything about it. But it's been tearing up Mayhem 3. I've been able to farm the endgame boss on Mayhem 3 pretty consistently. There are some modifiers that make it almost unplayable because they reduce your damage by so much. It's almost not even worth going in there. It's faster to just save quit and get more rolls. But other than that, we're going to go ahead and get into the kill now. Or we're going to go into the damage test. So we're going to be farming the last boss. So I told you at the beginning of the video, this is the last boss. So you've already been warned for your spoilers. I mean, look at this damage already. Look at that damage. And what this boss is going to do, the easy mechanics are you get it to every quarter health, it's going to kneel down like this. And you're going to have to climb its back. And once you climb up here, you're going to shoot this. You're going to jump off. You're immediately going to go into miss, and you're just going to spam those juicy criticals. I mean, look at all that damage. Look at all that damage, man. That is so juicy. Now what we're going to do here is I'm going to clear a little bit of trash before I go up there, because some of these can spawn into I've had some of these spawn into super badasses. You don't want that in a boss fight. They are super annoying to deal with, like right now. That's very unfortunate, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can still do it. So what you're going to do, same thing, come up here, do this, jump off, use your mist, and just go to town. Oh, look at that damage. These bosses just melt, man. And I'm just talking about, like, melting. I have not seen anybody, I mean, I won't say because I haven't looked at a whole lot of YouTube videos for Borderlands 3 right now, but I got this weapon as a drop earlier today, and I was like, there is no way that I can't make a video on this. Even if it doesn't get any views, I want the build to be out there. Just in case, you know, somebody needs a flak build and they like playing shotgun. I told all my friends, like at the start of Borderlands 3, that I was going to break flak with a shotgun build, and I did more than hold up to my end of the bargain. I think this build, this is only Mayhem 2. I'm not showing on Mayhem 3 because I didn't want to have to take the risk of having RNG. The penalties aren't as bad on Mayhem 2. But as you can see right there, we absolutely shred. You shred bosses. And that's it, guys. Like, this build is crazy good. If this isn't a top tier build, I would be shocked if this was not a top tier build for flak. Okay, that's not a good class mob. We don't need that. What's this? The Flood. That's an interesting Jacob's pistol. I'll take it though. But alright, so now we're gonna go collect our loot from in here. See if we get any legendary drops. But that is the build, guys. As you can see, this is Mayhem 2. You do, obviously your damage isn't gonna be as crazy in Mayhem 3 because Mayhem 3 can give you can hinder your damage a lot. But if you don't get those modifiers, you'll do a little bit less damage, but you do some crazy damage with this build. This is if you're a solo player and you need I didn't mean to pick up that blue, and you need a solo boss farming build, I would suggest this build to you 100% of the time if you play flak. It should be coming out, I might come out with a Zane build. I gave my buddy a Zane build to test for me not that long ago, and he said he's almost never died in the game. He said he's just about been unkillable. And I'm like, dude, that's sweet. So, you know, unless we get like a crazy legendary here, I'm just gonna go back out, pick up the purples. We just got some poo greens. Obviously, your drops will be a lot better once you start farming this on Mayhem 3. But the thing about it is you need your Fl4ker first before you even think about farming this on Mayhem 3, because the Fl4ker is the base of the build. I based this build, when I saw this gun, I based my build around this gun. And this gun did nothing but exceed my expectations. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna go ahead here and I'm gonna go back to the title screen because I'm gonna be farming this boss a little bit more. But if you guys did watch, I really do appreciate it. Please be sure to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at @thegodachilles_. It'll be in the description below. Be sure to go ahead and follow my live stream over at twitch.tv/thegodachilles. I stream just about every day that I can. And as of right now, the game I'm going to be streaming is Borderlands, because I'm going to be trying to maximize this flak build as much as I can. And when all the DLCs come out, because I do have the season pass, I'm going to be playing them. But I really do appreciate you guys watching. And YouTube, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, night, whatever it is for you whenever you're watching this video. But peace out, guys. And I hope you enjoy this build. And share, if you have friends that play flak, be sure to share it with them so you guys can go into boss fights together and just mop the floor with them. But that's enough of me talking. You guys have been listening to me talk for quite some time now. I hope you guys have a good day. Peace out, guys.